Okay, so I know I haven't shot any videos in a while. I'll explain that some other time, but I'm going to start trying to address some of the issues, topics that keep coming up in fitness, strength conditioning, etc. And I'm going to try to put some clarity into those things. So today I'm going to talk about daily maximal training. So, there's this whole idea that like, oh, squat every day or you can max out every day, all these things like that. I've talked about this before when I talked about Bulgarian training. This is nothing new. And I realize that there seems to be some kind of hype about Dr. Mike Zordos, I think is the name. And people are like, oh, yeah, he invented this. And I don't, I don't think he's ever claimed to have invented it. Uh, Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not heard him himself say that he invented daily maximal training. If he has said that, that would be a bizarre thing to say, because I think for all of us, as teenagers, even when we first started lifting, we maxed out every day. Not because that was really a training program, but just because we didn't know any better. We just went in every day and just maxed out because that's what teenage boys do. If you've ever played, hockey, football, baseball, anything that had a strength conditioning program, you would know that high school boys max out every single day because you got to impress your friends, right? You got to hit the heaviest bench press you possibly can, screw form and all that stuff like that. You got to hit the heaviest bench press. So coming back around to daily maximal training, if you wanted to do it intelligently, and I've been doing this for years now, I don't stay on it year round. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh yeah, I max out every day for a full year. Uh, I will do it for short stints of maybe 10 to 16 weeks. Let me just explain to you how I do it. So, people say, oh, daily maximal training, so you hit your max every day. No, no one's that. I mean, I won't say no one. I'm sure there's someone out there who's so incredible they hit their max every single day. What I do is I'll work up to a miss. So let's just take something like, I don't know, a power snatch. Okay. So, I'm working up in the power snatch, and I always start off with an empty bar. Next step up, I might throw on, 40 kilos, maybe go to 50 kilos, 60, 70. Then I start taking smaller jumps, so like 75, maybe 77 and a half, 80, 82 and a half, 85, and then 87 and a half, I miss it. So that day, my max for that day is 85, right? So um, that's my max. That's not like necessarily, that's not my best ever. So I'm not hitting a true max. It's just my max for that day. And then I'll drop weight off of it, maybe drop to like 80% ish sometimes. Sometimes not. Sometimes I'm a little more aggressive. It depends on how I feel that day. But let's say I hit 85, right? I might drop to 70 or 75, and then I'll hit 5 to 8 singles at that. And then I might drop down to 65 to 70 and hit maybe 5 sets of doubles. And that's how you would implement daily maximal training. The idea being that you max out, right? So you're going as heavy as you can that day. So it's not necessarily my all-time max. It's not my all-time best. It's not, my one rep max. I'm not hitting it every time I come in. But I'm working up to a miss. I'm working up to a heavy single. Some people stop short of a miss. I would certainly probably stop short of a miss on something like a squat or a deadlift. I wouldn't want to actually truly miss on things like a snatch or a clean. Sometimes you just miss it because form, technique, whatever. It's not that you're taxed out on strength, but sometimes you're just not as fresh as you are. Maybe you're a little bit fatigued, and so you miss it because of some little technique error, or you're just not as explosive. And so that's your max for the day, and then you base the rest of your training session off of that. So you might drop to 80% and do 8 sets of doubles, or something like that. There's not necessarily a specific formula for it, but I just want you guys to realize that whenever I say, like for myself, I squat every day, but I don't want you guys thinking that I'm coming in and hitting, a one rep max back squat every single day. Some days I hit a back squat. Some days I'll hit an overhead squat. because I like to do snatch balances even. Snatch balances, I would actually count that as a squat because, you're catching it in a squat. Snatch is really probably could count that as squatting every day. Then I might front squat, and then another day I might do cleans, but I'll do like a clean with like two front squats, um, or I'll do like a power jerk and then I'll actually squat. So it's kind of an overhead squat, but it's from my jerk position. Um, and I hit some variation of the squat every single day, even if it's like a Bulgarian split squat. Maybe I'm trying to, work a little bit on maybe single leg work, pistols or something like that, because my knee is, giving me trouble or whatever. Maybe I'm missing lifts, so I'll work on something like that. But the bottom line that I'm trying to make here is just that daily maximal training, it's nothing new. It's certainly effective. I wouldn't say that everyone should jump on this. This is something for maybe if you're like peaking, if you're preparing for an event, maybe you're doing a weightlifting event or a powerlifting event. Um, but I like it. You work up to a heavy single for that day. You hit your max for that day, daily maximal. It's just your max for that day. It's not necessarily your all time. And then you base the rest of the workout off of that. So drop to 80%, drop to 70%, whatever you want to pick, and work from there. I've even seen guys do stuff like where they max out and then they drop to like 50% and do sets of 10. Um, I'm not a fan of that. I feel like that's kind of going too light. I prefer to stay, if you're going to do daily maximal training, I prefer to stay heavy, over 80%. But that's cool. Everyone has a different physiology. If you feel better doing 50% and doing sets of 10, then do it. Um, for myself, I find that daily maximal training works better whenever I stay heavy, even for the reps and the volume afterwards. So there you guys have it. I just thought I'd clear that up. Daily maximal training is not necessarily, you're hitting your one rep max every day. It's just working up to a heavy lift that day and then basing the rest of your workout off of that lift. Cool. Kind of like auto regulation a little bit. A little bit.